going to call the meeting to order. Would everybody please rise? Tonight the invocation will be given by Pastor Doug Bankson of the Victory Church World Outreach Center. Thank you, Pastor Doug.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you again as we gather in this place. We thank you for this fine city that we're all a part of. Lord, we ask your blessing upon this meeting tonight. We thank you for wisdom and clarity. Father, we know that your word says you wish above all things that we prosper and be in health as our souls prosper. So thank you for blessing us. We ask that you would give wisdom and insight to all of our leaders as they make decisions that affect us all. And we thank you for clarity and thought, and we give you the praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. And would everybody please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Well, thanks everyone for joining us here tonight. This is our first budget meeting for the 2014-15 budget year. Tonight, of course, we're charged with setting the millage rate for next year. And because I'm new in this job, because we have a couple new commissioners, I've asked Richard and the staff to treat how we go through this budget process over the next few weeks as kind of budget 101 for the city of Apopka, because I know that I'm still learning a lot about how the city runs and about how the city budgeting process works, and I know that our new commissioners will appreciate that discussion as well. And so tonight we're going to go through a list of budget priorities, which you see in the packet, if you've had a chance to look at the packet, is a list of what we're calling budget priorities. Those are, in addition to being priorities, those are also requests from all of the department heads and from the commissioners. And so as we walk through this discussion, we're going to look at all of these individual priorities and decide what we must do in terms of keeping the city of Apopka up to speed and meeting all of our obligations. Then there's a set of priorities that will be things that we'd all like to have, that the community really considers things that we ought to do. And then there's things that I think that we'll find out that are things that would be nice to have, but we may not be able to afford them at this time, or we may be able to find another way to get those priorities accomplished. And so all of those things are going to shake out. The staff's proposed rollback rate is 3.2876, which would bring in roughly $600,000 more than last year. That's what we said, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it's the rollback rate, but it's effectively providing no tax increase or minimal tax increase to our taxpayers. Our choice is tonight to go with either the rollback rate as the staff has proposed, or depending on our discussion of the priorities, we may want to go with a slightly higher rate. Richard told me earlier today that our fellow cities in Orange County have all either proposed in their initial budget meetings, they've all either proposed to advance their millage rate by a full dollar or by one full mill, or they have gone with their existing rate. And if we went with our existing rate, which is 3.4727, that would result in approximately an additional $382,000 to meet the priorities that we're going to be discussing tonight. And so with that introduction, I thought I would turn it over to Richard and the staff to kind of walk us through our budget presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. As the Mayor pointed out, we're going to try to simplify this so everyone can understand just exactly what the process is. This process tonight merely states that we are going to establish what our millage rate will be going forward. Once we establish it, we cannot raise it. We can't go higher than what you determine it to be tonight. But we can always lower it. Thus, as he said, the other cities, Orlando, Maitland, Ocoee,
Oakland and Edgewood have all increased theirs by a mill. That's not to say that that's what the final millage rate will be. They've just built in the flexibility should, during their budget discussions, they desire to increase the millage over what that meeting intended. The county and the city of Winter Garden chose to keep their rate at exactly the same rate that it was this year. So they're actually going above the rollback rate and giving themselves some flexibility. So that's where we are tonight. There's upsides and downsides to that, as I pointed out in the meetings with the mayor. Naturally, the biggest downside is that the headlines in the paper tomorrow, should you choose to go with anything other than rollback, is that you have initiated a possible tax increase. Remember, it's just a possibility. You set that final millage rate at or below what you decide tonight or today, and then that's established as we go through the budgetary process. That's the basic oversight on it. As you know, we've got a number of, I wanted to get those dates out front so everyone understood those as we work through the budgetary process. We've got 2 budget work sessions planned. The first one for August 6th, immediately following the regular city council meeting. And then the second one is on August 20th at 5:15 p.m. So those are just budget workshops. The intent this year is to go through the budget thoroughly so everyone understands what's in the budget, what's not in the budget, and just give you a good overview of where we are in terms of financing the running of our city. As you know from the other meetings, the absolute, probably the most important dates are September 3rd and September 17th. That's when you set your tentative hearing for your budget and your final number. And September 17th is the final hearing date, when everything's locked up and we send it to the property appraiser's office and it's certified, etc. So that's where we are. As we work through this, if you go through your packet, just give you some general overview. I'm not trying to take anything from Edward. In the next few meetings, he'll be very much involved in explaining your budget process to you and all of that. So this is really just a quick overview. What we've done in here is established a few things. Number one, the budget is not balanced at this point. At this point, you're about $10 million out of balance. So I don't want anyone to even think that we're close right now. We are not. It includes, the budget highlights what you're looking at is all of the requests that were made. So the departments have made 31 requests for 31 new positions, primarily in police and fire. Those account for 24 positions itself in public safety. Health insurance, we're continuing to work through. The numbers were at 11%. We've been meeting with those, and those numbers will come down. It's not atypical that we see these same things. We are right where we normally are in any budget process. The other items, and these included items that were submitted by both the departments and council members, and those are all in that $10 million number. So as we work through the budget, those are things that I would recommend that we somehow prioritize that. So as we work through the budget, if we do find extra money, then we can prioritize those projects, and then we can work through those should we have available funds throughout the budget year that maybe some of those projects could be added. Some of these things I'll tell you in advance right now, like fire station. As you know, we're going to have to build a fire station to the north with the DRI that's going in up there. We've got some impact there. So that building is included here. We did have the land donated to us for that, so that's some offset. This shows the station and the manning all done in 1 year. Typically, that's not how we do it, but it's there because that was the department request. Typically, we build the building in 1 year and try to get it finished by as close to October 1st as we can, so we can man it in the following year and use the personnel costs in the following year. So you actually split the cost of manning and building the station over a 2-year period, and it doesn't have as much impact on the annual budget. Splash pad in the park.
May I interrupt?
Yes.
You, Richard? I'm concerned, where will this splash pad be located if you get the money?
Those are all discussions that you and the commission are going to have to decide on. There are some options, and we can certainly get into that as we get closer. Right now, these are just general numbers to throw out, and we're not saying approve the project tonight or not approve the project tonight. That will come in your budget discussions to follow. I'm just saying it's all in here as we proceed over the next month. These are decisions that we're going to have to make and prioritize as to how we go.
Okay.
Okay? There's been no decision on location for the splash pad.
Okay.
There's been no decision, as I said, even if there is going to be a splash pad. So, street lights on Rock Springs Road, $150,000. Additional police vehicles, $500,000. As you know, every year we have to buy new police vehicles, so that's some of the automatic things. We've got some stormwater drainage projects, repair and restoration of some brick streets, road resurfacing, traffic light at Piedmont Wekiva Road and Green Acres Road. Some of these are citizen requests, by the way, and that we need to go through. We did do a warrant. There is a warrant for a traffic light at that location, but I'm not sure that that's the best use of the funds for that area.
Right.
6th Street reconstruction, there's $1 million there. That's part of the phasing in of the project that we're doing out there with the fountain and the walk around the lake. Then additional parking for the 6th Street location so that we can actually use that facility and have a place for them to be. Sidewalks, downtown parking lot improvement. As you know, we own the majority of that parking lot, and if you've seen it, it's in pretty much disrepair over there, so we need to do something to improve that.
Where's that? I'm sorry, downtown parking improvement, where's that at?
That's across from the VFW, the general parking lot that the city is a part owner.
Parking lot that's right behind the businesses that are along Main Street.
Right.
And the 2 feet stores are kind of on either side.
Okay.
Across from the VFW.
Okay.
And across from Los Primos.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Now I see, because I'm like...
Then we have our normal ambulance replacements. There's been a request for a community pool, redevelopment strategic planning, some discussions we've had on that. Some of these things we may be able to get done by the private sector, so that, but we put them all in here just so we can have the discussion on it. Train depot restoration, that's another one that we need to discuss. It's privately owned. It may be difficult to make a donation to a project that's privately owned like that, so discussions we'll have in the future. The Welch Road, the old Station 2 location up there, that building's a metal building. We've been asked to see if we can do some improvements on those. Some of these things we may be able to include some of the smaller ticket items in this year's budget, so that we won't have to address them in the coming year's budget. Then the amphitheater events, that's the old Florida Outdoor Festival. And we've talked about having some additional events out there on a quarterly basis, so that is what we put in there. Then we had some other requests, community garden building. We don't have a price tag on those. The same with the Williams Park improvements. Those are just going to require some more discussion so we can get some idea of what is envisioned there, so we can get some tangible numbers assigned to that. The African American cultural activities, the same thing there. So that, in a nutshell, is what we've been requested and what we'll be looking at as we move forward in the budget sessions. We've given you some backup information there just on citywide expenses and tax rate comparisons, once again, between all the cities. As you know, we are still at the bottom of that list on ad valorem tax rates, employees per capita, our total property tax revenue, we have seen an increase this year. As I've said throughout the year, in talking with the development community and the economists that we've spoken to, as you know, going into the recession, we lagged about 2 years behind the private sector in going in. So they were hitting it, they were feeling that hit 2 years before we were in government. The same will hold true coming out of that recession. They're about 2 years ahead of us. We're still feeling the results of that recession right now. So we're just now seeing some of our property tax increases. As you can tell, they're not anywhere near even the 2009 levels. So we are not recovered, even though you're hearing and seeing some signs in the private sector that we are. In the government sector, we're not there yet. And that's reflected, as I've shown you, by what the other cities in our county are doing with their millage rates. So I just want you to be cognizant of that as we move forward and have our discussions. Then we have an annual budget comparison there. These are, as I said, that is a preliminary number. That 2015 number is the one that we're going to establish over the next 30 days. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, or Edward's available to answer questions too. Today, as I said, you have to do one thing, that's set your tentative millage rate. If you want a fudge factor and feel that you need to do that, you can set it anywhere virtually anywhere you want. If we go over a certain rate, we start getting into 2/3 majority, then full majority votes and all that. I don't believe we're there tonight. From the discussions I've had and the feelings I've gotten in talking with you all, I don't think you're looking at tax increases. So I think you can go one of two ways. We can go directly to the rollback, or you can give yourself a little bit of a factor there to work through some of these other projects if you'd like to, and set it at the current rate, and then roll it back further if you like. Just keep in mind, you can't go up, you can go down.
Any questions from the council?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
On this project that we need so very badly at the community garden, is it possible that the city engineering department could more or less do the infrastructure and the structure on getting some sanitary facilities down there, because it's in their need that the people that has garden need to have places to go and relieve themselves. That should be a priority.
We can certainly look at that as we move through this budget process. That's what we're here for, to talk about the new projects.
Okay.
So essentially what we're talking about is restroom facilities.
Yes.
With running water.
Right. Well, they have the water already there, because we have the gardens there, and they use running water there.
So
if we're looking at restroom facilities, let us take a look at that. That may be something that you don't need to include in your budget. It might be something that we can work on here in-house.
Okay.
Let me just get the number, now that we know what we're talking about.
All right. So by the next budget workshop,
Absolutely.
we'll have a number to work with.
We'll have some numbers for that.
Okay. All right.
I know you're saying it's up to us, but do you or Edward have a recommendation from your planning perspective, what you'd like for us to do? I think that's...
We came in and recommended the bottom line rate. I think if I was sitting in your seat, I would probably go with the current rate, give yourself some flexibility going into the budget process, knowing that we're still $10 million out. You've got a number of projects there that I'm sure you're going to want to see some of them. We're continuing to work to get that number down, so we're going to have some money there. Are we going to have millions? No, you're not going to see any of those kinds of numbers. We're still bare bonesing and trying to keep those costs down. I think my best recommendation to you is let's set it today at the current rate. That gives you that flexibility, and then we can always roll back further if you desire.
And that's actually, the history here in Apopka is, it's not unprecedented to set it at the existing rate and then ultimately adopt, the rollback rate. But at least it gives us some flexibility over the next 2 months to have, the discussions about what we really want to do.
The staff's goal is to get you at the rollback rate.
Sure.
All right.
Any other discussion?
Well, the 31 positions, what are they?
Well, I think it's made up of
There's
requests.
24 public safety,
Right.
15 firefighter positions, 9 police officer positions.
I'm sorry,
And then-
can you repeat that again? How many?
15 firefighter, 9 police officers. My recommendation is to you is to not focus on any of this right now. We're
Okay.
going to be hub deep in this in a couple of weeks, and I would hazard a very educated guess that you're probably not going to see new positions.
So let me ask you this. I mean, the rollback rate that you have today is 3.2876, and we have been currently at 3.47. If we remain at that, we're not raising taxes, and you're saying we have a flexibility because we'll have a sort of a buffer zone.
Well, you are raising taxes if you keep it at the same level. And let me explain how that works.
Okay.
That millage rate right now is based on the assessed values from last year. Your property value has increased. That's why you see that, as well as the new construction that has occurred. So we get a bump in property values based on that. So last year, if your house was valued at $100,000 and you were at 3.48, you paid $348 in city taxes. Okay? If it goes to $120,000 this year, which most of them have increased, and I keep it at the same rate, your tax bill is just increased by that 20%.
Oh, I see. Now
Okay, so
I
what's
understand
out
what
of
you're
your
saying.
pocket has increased. It looks like it's remained the same from the millage rate, but the reality is your property value and what you're paying out for taxes has increased. So that's why this is government's way of looking like they're reducing your taxes. So we're going to a rollback rate that makes you pay the exact same tax for your house
Because of the increase in the value.
because of the increase in the property value.
Okay. I thank you for explaining that, because I think I got it.
Right. Good. And then the increase in revenue that we're going to realize even with the rollback rate is largely attributable to the value of the new construction that we've had.
Keep in mind, ad valorem taxes are about 19% of our revenues. So when we're talking about balancing the budget, and we're looking at revenues versus expenditures, ad valorem taxes are very little part, although the public, that is the part they focus on the most. But it's the other areas that we get money from sales tax and all of the other things that create 81% of our revenue stream. But property taxes, as I don't have to tell you all, that's what everyone focuses on the most.
Right.
So
Because it comes
that
out of
is
the
only,
law.
around 19% of what our revenue stream is based on.
The other question is, last year, you had property tax for so many homes. How many homes have we increased since last year?
I don't know that I have those numbers. I can have those for you
At the next meeting.
at the budget
Okay.
session.
And can I ask you,
If you look at my administrative report, you'll see when I tell you about new construction, those are the numbers. That's where we're tracking how much. If you look at that and aggregate those numbers at the end of the year, we're usually pretty close to what the property appraiser, and that is totally new tax. That's money that we have never had before because it's a new project or new home. So that's why that number is important in my administrative report that I give to you.
okay, do I have that?
Yes,
It's in the previous agendas.
It's in the previous agendas. I give it once a month.
Okay.
But we'll get you as best we can. Those numbers, remember, come from the property appraiser's office.
Right.
So they set the values, not the city. We set the millage rate in order to generate the revenues that we need to run the city.
When someone buys a home and there's an impact fee, how does that get broken down? Just,
The impact fees were established to offset, whenever someone builds a home, they have created an impact on our water system, our road system, our sewer system, our recreation department, and those are the only areas that we collect impact fees. Some collect public safety impact fees for police and fire, and those fees then, we're saying you've had an impact on our total system. So in order to have the infrastructure in place for them to continue, we put those impact fees in place, so saying that you've taken this amount of capacity out of our system that would normally be available, so you've impacted us. And we need that fee so that we can continue to at least stay even in building our infrastructure, our new sewer plants, our new water plants. And that's what you'll be seeing when you're talking about water plants and sewer plants. You know, we're talking about a potential $42 million sewer plant expansion coming up as a result of those impacts. And right now, over half that money will be paid for with impact fees. So that's what the impact fees are for. Those are the folks that have impacted the roads, et cetera. And we use that offset to rebuild that infrastructure and make sure we have the capacities there so that we can continue to grow.
And just tell everybody what year we're looking at for that sewer plant expansion.
It's probably going to be 2 years out. Let me back up on the sewer plant expansion. I just use that for an example. The sewer plant expansion has been in the works for 5 years. 5 years. We've got plans. In fact, they were so old we're having to update the plans right now to be able to move forward with it. And we continue to monitor those capacities. Only recently has DEP and St. John's allowed us some flexibility in that. It used to be you had paper capacity, and it was always an argument between staff, and I'm getting long-winded here, so I'll go ahead and give it to you.
No, go ahead, Richard.
There's always been an argument among staff members because the people that operate the plants know I'm getting 3.2 million gallons a day worth of effluent through the system. And the people tracking it on paper said, no, but we've added all of these houses and all these other businesses, and there's 4.8 million gallons coming through there. So the reality is it's 3.2 million. The paper says it's 4.8. And up until recently, DEP always said you have to go by what the paper number is. Mm-hmm. So now there's some flexibility there. But we're still, I think we're at 75% capacity out there. So we've got capacity, but with what we see coming down the pike in terms of development, the DRI and all of those things, we have to be ahead on those things so that they are in place in order to build those, because you have to have that capacity or you can't allow construction.
I have another question. Thank you. So when you say you're at a 10 million deficit and you're asking each of the staff members to go back to their and work out where it balances, what is it in their budget that's causing the deficit?
It's not so much in their budget. We're doing some. Mayor Kilsheimer has asked us to do some things differently than we have in the past. We're showing you everything up front. Normally, what will happen, and it will happen in this case, I'll be sitting down with the department heads and I'll have my red pencil and we'll be going through all of that stuff, saying, well, okay, this isn't going to work. This is a wish list right now for a number of things. Now, included in the same budget is what we have to function. So we'll be going through all of those things, and that number will come down. But right now, we basically said, if you can have anything you want, here it is. Same thing we asked you all. Tell me all of your projects. It's all lumped in there. So if you counter that with your revenues that we're looking at right now, there's a $10 million difference, which is not unusual starting in on a budget.
So you're saying that that is usual for you when you first
Oh, yeah.
set the millage
Absolutely.
rate?
Absolutely. Department heads and I have a lot of fun with these budgets.
So now, was any of what's on this wish list part of a 5-year plan that you had already budgeted for?
Sure, we've got things in there that we know that are halfway through a project that we can't just cut, and those will be there, but,
And they're on this particular list? Would
not
you
on
be
that
able-
particular list. They're included in the department's budget that you'll be seeing over the next couple of weeks.
Or any of
next
them, so they're listed in here?
Yeah,
this
these are
wish
new
list.
projects.
Oh, this is all new projects?
This is
within
all
here?
new stuff that they're wanting that we listed here.
Oh, okay, because I saw streetlights.
No,
but I
we
thought
have
that was-
streetlights in the budget. This is a new requested section of street lighting, so that's not in this budget. We do have sidewalk repairs in here that we've always had in the budget. So we've had $100,000 additional request for that, so that's why that's showing there.
Okay, and streetlights, just what's the average cost of a streetlight, one streetlight?
Well, that's a tough answer. Most of our streetlights we lease
Okay.
from Duke Energy. So it's not actually us purchasing them. So we just pay a monthly cost per
And
Per
what
light.
is that monthly cost? Like here you have 150,000, how many streetlights would I be getting with that?
$22.40. Depending on the fixture, $20 to $40
Per streetlight per month, per year?
per month.
Per month. So they have here 150,000, so how many streetlights are we talking about to maintain them?
Well, if it's
Number.
20, it'd be 750, right?
Per,
No, but how many streetlights would be available at $150,000, at $20?
Well, there's two variables in there. Number one, the fixture
Okay,
that we're putting up, and how close we're going to space those to meet the lighting requirements. We'll have to look at that when we get
Okay.
closer.
and we can drill down into that
okay.
at the upcoming budget workshops.
These were general numbers that were put out there based on what we have, but, all of those things, we're right in our work
Right.
period right now in the city.
So what we're tasked with tonight is giving the staff general policy direction in terms of what the ultimate number is that they have to work with.
Okay.
So we can go with the proposed rollback rate, which is the more limited number, which means the staff, has to work within that number. We can go with the existing rate that we have now, which gives them and us a little bit more flexibility. Or we could go wild and crazy and set it right. So anyway, I think what we're looking at is finding the right mix in terms of policy direction, so that the staff knows this is the bottom line number that they have to hit when we get to September.
Okay, Ron. I appreciate you giving me all the explanations, because this is all new to me also, so just wanted to get an idea.
Great.
I'd like to hinge on something that Diane said. She asked the question about how many new houses, but in asking the question, I don't think she thought about how many foreclosures that Apopka will inherit this year. And you don't get any tax money from foreclosures, and Orange County is one of the highest foreclosures in Florida.
We do have a lot of foreclosures, and we have to rely on the best guess from the property appraiser, and we've always tried to be very conservative on those estimates when it comes to revenues. And I think as we go through the budget process, if you'll keep that in mind, that's what we're trying to do, be conservative on those estimates for revenues and look very hard at those expenses as we go through. And that's what's going to get us to the balanced budget.
Okay.
When those foreclosures, though, are sold by the bank,
You get the money then.
Yeah, okay.
It's
So you do
just
get
late.
the money back.
It's just the late.
It's just delayed, okay. But we don't have a number, and he's right. I didn't think about that. How many foreclosures that do we have? As opposed to
As I
the
said, I
housing?
think, we're coming out of this recession, but we're not there yet in government. We've still, we're 2 years lagging behind the private sector. So, when the folks that in the community are saying, look, things are great in the private sector, they're starting to look that way. But I think we should be cautious, because I also hear that a lot of the builders think that this might just be a bubble that's short term and could go back the other way. So,
Right.
just look, a bit of philosophy.
Although supposedly, according to the New York Times today, the economy grew by 4% in the second quarter. So we'll see what happens. All right. Any other comments by commissioners? Well, at this point, I would welcome anybody from the public who'd like to have some input on our discussion here. Sue Kidd.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry, Janice, I'll do a card in a minute. Suzanne Kidd, 1260 Lexington Parkway. I think my question probably has to be directed to Mr. Anderson, because it's a clarification of some numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mr. Anderson, you mentioned that the extra revenue that would come in addition to what we brought in from last year with the rollback rate was approximately $600,000. Did I get that right?
I think that was the number between Mayor and Kilsign.
Okay, and if I wrote this down right, it said if we left it at the existing rate, it was $302,000 of extra revenue. So
382.
382?
Right.
382,000? So I guess my question is, why would a lower rollback rate give us a higher extra amount of money?
No. The 382 would be plus the roughly 600,000 that Richard mentioned with the rollback.
Oh, okay.
Rate. So it's
Okay, so about
if we-
900 and
Right,
almost
it
$1
would be a
million
total
extra. Okay.
Is that
Actually, it's around 700,000 between the two.
okay?
Okay.
382 onto the other number. What's that? 290? Yeah, we were just looking at it earlier. About 290, I think it was. So it's about 700,000 if you add the two together.
Okay.
Okay.
So instead of 9, it'd be roughly 7.
Roughly 7. All right. So my question is, we're at 3.4727. If we leave it where it is, we know what the extra would be. My question is, how much extra revenue would you get for even going up 0.1? So, for example, we're at 3.47. What if we went to 3.5 or 3.6? What additional money would that give us that might allow us the extra revenue to take care of some of the extra things that are being asked for at this point? If it's not a huge impact on anybody to go up 1/10 of a point, but it generates a lot of extra revenue, it might be something worthwhile considering. So that's my question for Mr. Anderson.
If you go up 1 mil,
That would be a whole mill, though.
A
That would
whole
be going
mill.
to 4, right?
it
Okay.
will
Well, we'll be
raise,
able to divide that by 10 here in a second.
it will raise an additional $2.65 million. If you go up by 1/2 mil, it will raise an additional $1.62 million. If you go up by 1/10 of a mil, it would generate another $797,000.
So every 1/10 of a mil represents about
At the current rate, it's $590,817 if you go with the current rate. If you go with the rollback, it's going to generate an additional $208,895 in ad valorem taxes.
Okay. So if instead of it being 3.47, if it went to 3.57, that would be an extra 1/10 of a mil. You're saying that would generate almost an extra $800,000 in revenue?
$797,000 is what it would raise.
okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anybody else from the public who would like to contribute to this discussion? Yes, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Ron Landon, 1134 DeCleva Drive. Based on the recommendations that your staff have pursued anyway, I, as a taxpayer, would recommend you go with the current tax rate that will give you fairly, some increase. Not going to cover $10 million, but looking at your list, I mean, you can cut $2.3 million by just, one, taking out the community pool, and two, as your administrator said, fund your personnel for the fire department next year. So that's $2.3 million, and that's a fairly significant part.
Great, thank you. All right, anyone else? All right, well, let's bring it... Oh, Dr. Schechter, I'm sorry.
Ray Shackelford, 2882 Carpathian Drive. I also would propose that you go with the recommendation of the staff, the 3.4727 will give you, as stated, flexibility as you go through your budget workshop. So I'm in support of the current rate. Thank you.
I'd move that recommendation if you...
All right, well, we'll bring it back to the council, and Commissioner Aerosmith moves that we go with the 3.4727 rate. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Dean. All right, is there any further discussion? Any further discussion from the public? If not, the motion is to go with the millage rate of, the existing millage rate of 3.4727. And we'll vote all in favor of 3.4727, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Is there any further discussion that we'd like to have?
No.
Any further discussion from the public? If not, we'll adjourn. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was very good. Very good.